And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Payload down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
The methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another round of Will It Launch Tonight? 2 times the charm, maybe, with this Starlink mission, as we are looking at a Falcon 9 vertical, and hopefully we are just under an hour away from the launch of the Starlink Group 6-77 mission that might deliver some more internet satellite into orbit. My name is Adrian Bile. I'm your host for today's mission, as we are trying this again. And I'm also joined again by Mr. Alejandro Alcantarilla Romero. Alex, how you doing?
Well, another launch. Finally, seems like they may have solved that issue. We'll probably talk about that later. But back on track today, actually, and we'll also talk about that as well. But it looks like today, the problem was not all about the vehicle or the ground systems, but it looks like it was the weather, because we are at the end of the launch window today. So hopefully it goes on time.
We will certainly see. Not that much wiggle room left in this window, for sure. And exactly, it's the end, right? Like, so no more slips. It's this or it's not.
Yep.
So there we go. And also joining us in the field, we have, starting here with D Wise. How is it going?
It is going pretty well. It is a beautiful evening out here on the Space Coast, and I'm always happy to be out here for a launch.
Absolutely. Looking forward to hopefully see this thing fly today. We shall see. And also joining us from the field, and I think also protected from the mosquitoes here, is Mr. Max Evans.
Well, I'm not sure about protecting, because they're still getting through somehow through this little mosquito suit. But good evening, everybody, and welcome to another gorgeous evening here on Florida Space Coast.
Yeah, it's a bit. I heard there's some mosquitoes around today. So
it tends to happen when the sun goes down.
It's like if no sun, then Max and D have a fun time. So let's start with what we are looking at here. Alex, this is the second time this mission is starting to fly. So what is this mission? Oh, sorry, Jay. I'm so sorry. I forgot Jay producing the stream. Very, very sorry. Thank you so much, Jay, for being with us again for this mission. I shouldn't forget you. And with that, Alex, do you mind giving us an overview? What are we seeing today? And why are we seeing it for the second time?
Yeah, so just quickly, Starlink launching 23 Starlink V2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit, going into a southeast launch trajectory. Remember, this is a Group 6 mission. Group 6 missions launch out of Florida and go into a southeasterly trajectory out of the Cape. And so today's mission is going to be pretty much like that. We're going to have a first stage today, which is flying for the third time. It's sort of like a rookie first stage. It just launched 2 missions, the Starlink Group 10-5 and Crew 9 more recently. And so that is B1085, by the way, for those that like the, to track all the serial numbers and whatnot. You also have Nexus spaceflight, but, you can also have here. And so, yeah, it's, just like every Falcon 9 launch so far, except for a few of them, the first stage will land on Earth, and so it's going to be landing on the drone ship just with the instructions. The fairing craft, we presume that they are also reused, because they're doing that pretty much on every single Starlink mission. But unfortunately, we don't know the exact numbers or how many flights or anything, because SpaceX doesn't provide those kind of numbers. But we do know that they're going to be recovered, because Bob, one of the fairing recovery vessels, is out there at sea waiting for those fairings to be recovered. And so the second stage will do its usual 2-burn profile, 1 burn to go into a preliminary orbit, usually around 160 by 293 kilometers. And then it'll do another short burn to put the satellites into that final orbit. And after it has already deployed those satellites, as you can see there, it'll do a 3rd burn of the MVAC engine to bring it down to a re-entry and destruction over the Indian Ocean. You can see there that re-entry path of the second stage for this mission. And unlike Starship, which also goes to the Indian Ocean, this will not be recovered. Or at least any attempt of any landing whatsoever. But now, why is it that this is the second attempt, right, for this launch? Well, it looks like on the first launch attempt last week by now, what happened is that it appeared, at least what SpaceX explained on the pre-launch press conference for CRS-31, was that apparently the ground systems to load helium onto the first stage, they had an issue with that. They were not able to load helium the way that they wanted to, and so they were not able to launch that day. Obviously, helium is used on the Falcon 9 for 2 different purposes. One of them is to pressurize the tanks. They use that. They essentially take the helium and heat them up on the engines. They have heat exchangers to heat that up, the helium, and then it is put back on the tanks already heated up to be able to pressurize them as they get emptied out during flight. But another sort of way that they use the helium is as well for relight, because those either the MVAC engine on the second stage or the first stage when it's coming back, they need the helium to be able to spin up the pumps on the Merlin engines, and so they use that as well for recovery. And so it is very important for the operation either way, whatever type of helium they were loading, to be able to fly, right? And so if they cannot get it on the first stage, well, that's not a great deal, right? And so they were not able to launch.
There we go. Usually that's not the best way to launch, indeed. So they're trying again today, hopefully with everything fixed. I mean, you would assume that, right? If they wouldn't try, if they wouldn't at least think they fixed it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
D, do you mind giving us an overview of the weather situation? Because it seems weather has been a bit of a watch item for this one.
It most certainly has. So, looking at the 45th Weather Squadron, their launch mission execution forecast, they gave tonight's launch a 70% probability of violating the weather constraints. And so they were looking at cumulus cloud rules, the thick cloud rule, and liftoff winds, with an additional risk for the booster recovery weather out in the ocean. Now, I will say, when this window was supposed to open up earlier today, the weather actually looked pretty decent here. There weren't all too many clouds. And as the night has gone on, it feels like the clouds have grown in size and it has become a little bit more gloomy. But SpaceX always likes to thread the needle here. So, and I will say in the last half hour especially, it does seem to have cleared up a bit. So hopefully all these weather constraints will be clear at the time of liftoff tonight. But it is a nice moderate temperature out. It is a great evening if you are in Florida to take a look out and try to watch a launch.
Absolutely, and that is something I want to throw to Max here, because we got a question about that. Chris Barnett is wondering, what direction is this launch going? And with that, Max, also, which area, if you're in the east coast of Florida, where do you might see this launch?
Yeah, absolutely. So because this is a Group 6 shell, Starlink shell launching, it is heading off on a 43-degree inclination, which in other words means it is launching southeast from Florida. So if you're anywhere south of the Cape, I say Cocoa Beach, Satellite Beach, or even all the way down to, say, Fort Lauderdale or Miami, because it's now nighttime, the rocket should be flying right past you, and it will be pretty difficult to miss, assuming weather is playing ball in your area, because it'll be this bright orange ball of light in the sky. It's going to be quite spectacular. Visible, I think, in terms of other area visibility, if you are even, of course, north, say Daytona or New Smyrna or even Jacksonville, you should have a good view as well, but it is flying away from you, so visibility will not be as prime or as, I guess, well suited as if you were south of the pad. But also, if you're all the way down in, or all the way over in Tampa, St. Pete, or even all the way in, say, Marco Island, you should also be able to get at least some visual of the launch night, because, of course, it is launching at night. The bright exhaust from all 9 Merlin 1Ds contrasts very much so against the dark night sky here in Florida. So you can see it from quite a ways away.
There we go. Thank you for that overview, Max. And with that, before I dive into questions here, I want to hit some very generous support because it's kind of crazy. Even before we went live, people started to super chat and give memberships here. So I don't know. That's crazy. Like, we're not even streaming yet. So starting here with Wilbur Baggins with a super chat saying just thank you, NSF. Thank you, Wilbur, for always showing up and supporting us. Wilbur also coming through with a Red Team membership. Thank you so much for that. And then we have Elizabeth Höppner with a $50 super chat. That was before we went live. Thank you. I mean, there's not even a message attached. Thank you so much for that very generous support. And then we have Wilbur Baggins again with a 20 pound super chat saying Phil may be absent, but I'm not. And then we have Jim Carvett with a gifted membership, Red Team. Thank you for that. And Ethereal Swordsman with a $2 super chat. We will not call EJ to jump scare him while he's on stream. That's mean. We'll not do that. But I mean, thank you so much for that super early, super generous support. Really helps us to keep the lights on. I mean, no lights today, but you get the message, I guess. There's some lights. There's lights on the rockets. We don't provide these though. So yeah, there you go. Alex, do you fancy some questions about helium and COPVs?
Sure, go ahead.
Why doesn't the helium mix with the fuel? Is one Air RN wondering.
Well, I'm guessing that what they mean is that why doesn't it mix once they put it back on the tank, right? Once they heat it up.
Yeah, basically, once they pressurize with it, why doesn't it mix with the fuel and then goes into the engines and does weird things?
Well, one of the reasons it probably has some small mixing, but the problem is helium doesn't really mix that well, if I'm not mistaken. So the whole reason is that, you know, it's a very lightweight gas. It tends to try to go up, right, on because of the density. It's very lightweight in that sense. And so the mixing, you really need to be very careful with that. They do one thing though, which is helium bubbling. People maybe don't know what that refers to, but helium bubbling allows them to be able to load liquid oxygen in such a way that the you know, we've seen even this kind of thing in some labels on Starship as well. Helium bubbling allows them to be able to steer the liquid oxygen inside of the tanks in such a way that it has equal temperature and it doesn't stratify, essentially what it's called. Because as you load the liquid oxygen, you load it at very cold, right? But the first one that you load, they start loading liquid oxygen, for example, on the first stage at T-minus 35 minutes. The liquid oxygen that you load by the time you are at T-minus 10, you have all of the other liquid oxygen at a different temperature, right? Because it was like 25 minutes ago that you can see that timeline. And so that means that as you load the propellant on board, you'll have different temperatures. And so what you do is you try to steer the whole thing in order so that the temperature eventually is sort of like, you know, trying to mix coffee with sugar and things like that. You just try to make a homogeneous mix there. I don't know if such a thing, for example, will impact there, but if they do that, probably is not a big deal to mix the helium. That's my take. I have, you know, no expertise in this, but I know it's a technique that they do in order to be able to allow things to be homogeneous, because once they are homogeneous, you understand things better. You don't have what are called gradients, right? Large differences in temperatures in one part of the tank from the other and things like that, which is very advantageous to be able to model all of this behavior. But yeah, that's one of the things that I will not be, concerned about.
And one quick follow-up question here from 98 Central. Is the helium stored in COPVs tanks like Starship? And where are
Yes.
these COPVs?
Yeah, so there are COPVs on both tanks, on both the liquid oxygen and the RP1 tank. And the reason for that is the liquid oxygen tank is cold, right? So you load the helium that you want to be cold, such as the one that you use for pressurization, because you need a lot of helium for pressurization. And so it is stored in the cold in the cold tank precisely to pack more of it and not need as much COPVs. But as I mentioned before, they use helium for spinning up the pumps, and that is inserted into the turbine. And so the turbine, it's not at cryogenic temperatures, and so you need helium at room temperature, or more like, not cryogenic temperatures. And so that is stored in the RP1 tank of the rocket. So they have a bunch of COPVs on both tanks. Those are composite overwrapped pressure vessels. They're essentially like a metal bottle wrapped in carbon composite.
Absolutely. I have to continue the thanking here because Byteford is also joining the support on the Starlink. The support on this stream, absolutely crazy. Gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Thank you so much for that. Like, we just here hanging out for Starlink, and everybody's coming through here with the support. Thank you so much, Byteford. Also a very regular name. We hear you all the time. Okay, let's continue to go Q&Aing. I have to address though. I see some topics here in the chat which we have not talked about yet. D, how are you feeling about potentially looking at Texas in the next 2 weeks?
What?
I mean, I heard there's some news that dropped today that might bring Texas into a potential interest of spaceflight in the next 2 weeks today.
Oh, yeah. It might. It definitely could. I think I'm getting potentially ready for a long drive.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't know if you guys saw that, everybody. Like, we got confirmation that Starship apparently is flying, and let me look at the time here. About 10 days from now, on the 18th? That's 11 days from now. So, I see that. Did I say Texas instead of Texas?
I
It
heard
did
Texas.
sound like that.
I mean, I see that in the back
I think
channel.
it's the non-European ones that heard Texas because they are obsessed with that.
Yeah, but I said Texas. Texas.
Yeah, Texas, not Texas.
Yeah, I need a poll here. Did I say the state or did I say
I think
government
Adrian,
contribution system?
I think we need Adrian a taxi, right?
I did hear taxi too.
Oh my god.
Ah,
This is the
Texas,
worst.
Texas,
This is the worst.
Texas.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong here. I see the poll. I see the poll. Whoops, did I just end the poll? Oops, sorry. Anyway, with that.
Oh my goodness.
Well, taxes won.
Anyway, Max, there's a question here. If we today will see a stubby nozzle, yay or nay? Do you want to bring the happy news?
The happy news. That's an awfully biased statement. Okay, Adrian. But no, because of the performance requirements needed from the upper stage of Falcon 9, because of the mass and not so much the size, but the mass of these Starlink V2 mini satellites, they require the full size nozzle. And even though the cost and weight savings do aid in some payloads because of their weight and performance cuts, because of the weights or because of the performance needed from the upper stage, they have to go with the full size nozzle tonight. So the day they fly a stubby nozzle on a Starlink mission will be a great one, but that's not coming anytime soon, I don't think.
There we go. So no stubby nozzle on this one. Might I add, thankfully.
No, you may not.
I just said it, Max. You cannot take it back.
Take it back.
No. Anyway, we are just 1 minute and 40 seconds away from the potential go no go here from the launch director, which might be an interesting one today because again the weather is a bit iffy. You can still see some wind, and there's also some recovery weather iffiness. So yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a fun thing with frost spotting or with SpaceX confirming to us that they're going for it. That's usually the expectation we have here. Either SpaceX is confirming they go for it, or we see some frost, and it's a race. It's a competition. We should track that. We should have like a scoreboard. Who wins, SpaceX or us? Byteford, yes, I said flight 6 on the 18th. We have no TAMs for that and SpaceX confirmation. So yes, they are playing to fly Starship again on the 18th of November.
Yep, and at 4 p.m. Central, which means afternoon launch.
Yeah, that means we will have amazing daylight views throughout most of the NSF stream, which is something I can tell you some people here are quite excited about.
Indeed. I mean, that has been something that myself, Dee, and Jack have been talking about for a very long time now, that we wished so badly that SpaceX would fly Starship around the 3, 4, 5, even 6 p.m. time frame, depending on the time of year, just because from the perspective of the production site or the highway or river or even the outpost, the sun is behind you, and for once, the Starship stack as a whole is lit from the front, and because of the way Starship now rolls with the heat shield rolling 90 degrees to the north, the view from over by the highway and directly west of the pad should be quite spectacular. So, of course, that is dependent on weather cooperating, and hopefully it will, because November. I mean, I have to find some wood to knock on, but normally weather in the November and December time of year in South Texas is a lot more mild with a lot less haze and a lot more calm weather. So hopefully that works in our favor, but a 4 p.m. window opening is superb.
Alex, do you mind also giving us some other infos about what is different about this flight or what is the same?
Well, they are changing also the sort of not by much, but the mission for the ship, for example, they're going to be doing a relight in space, and they're also going to be changing the TPS, which we have talked about, by the way, in 2 different times. Right after Flight 5, when we talked about the aluminum tiles and everything, we told that on This Week in Spaceflight, and then most recently this week when we released the Starbase update and talked about Ship 31, we said they stripped a lot of tiles out of that ship. Maybe they're going to be doing some test about that, and they are indeed going to be testing re-entering with the ship, missing a bunch of tiles on the sides, and their goal is that they don't need to put tiles there, and in the future they're going to put catching hardware on future vehicles in those areas. And so that's good news, because that means, they're preparing for a catch.
Yep, absolutely. There you go. And I see you, chat. I see people requesting when the patch comes out. I can tell you I have just finished a meeting discussion where we talked about exactly that. And it's coming along. We will reveal it when it's time. There's a patch.
When is that, Adrian? We are all dying to know.
Can you leak for us?
I cannot leak your date yet. I cannot leak you when we are looking at the time frame, but I can tell you working on it. And once we are really at the final steps, we will of course prepare you to order it and everything. So yeah, it's coming along. We will have a patch. I can confirm you we are working on a patch. Is that happy?
That makes us all very happy, and it's also, especially in this community, and especially among spaceflight photographers, patches of any kind and all kinds are like their own currency. So we can never have enough patches.
Yeah, and I also I just like our patches because I think Pauline really puts a lot of love into them, and they have character. I really think Pauline is doing amazing design work. I don't know how she does it all the time, but every time they look so amazing. And this one will also look very, very cool for you. Let's see here. Alex, do you fancy more questions about Falcon 9?
Always.
I heard you like that rocket, right?
Yeah, right?
So, the question here is from 9/8 Central again. Does the Falcon 9 utilize the exploding balls like the shuttle did to hold it on the TE? Shuttle mentioned, by the way.
No, they don't use bolts. So what they use is just clamps at the bottom. They have 4 clamps at the bottom of the rocket, and that's what they do. They don't have any bolts. Because if you think about it, bolts will just make it not be reusable, right? And you kind of need your, not just your rocket, but also your launch systems to be reusable if you want to have a high launch cadence. Maybe, do some inspections, weld a few things here and there, and go off again with that rocket. That's all they do, essentially, between launches, especially from this pad. This is the most, active launch pad, not just from SpaceX, not just like even all over the world. This is the most active launch pad. And, if you look down at the description, you'll see some of the stats. This will be the 214th launch from this launch pad by SpaceX. And that's just mind blowing, I should say. And so you don't get that kind of cadence. You don't get that many launches if you get just exploding bolts on your launch pad. You need a reusable way of actually getting your rocket clamped.
I kind of, Alex, I'm totally unrelated, but do you think the native English speakers on the NSF team are slowly but surely volunteering to learn German and Spanish? Not to call out anybody here in the back channel that is making fun about any pronunciation, but I think we are about to hear
Clamps?
maybe like Ryan or Kevin, or I don't know, hearing maybe I'm looking forward to hear you pronounce German words. It's gonna be fun. That might be. Chad,
Yeah,
do you want to have that as like a Christmas special or something?
I mean, even hello, they don't even know how to pronounce that in Spanish. So let's just
I used to know a tiny, tiny bit of German, but not anymore.
Anyways, I would just like to talk about today's mission instead of pronunciations and everything. By now, I don't know, you guys. We should have started to see some frost, right? I don't know.
I will quickly read some super chats before we bring potential bad news. But Connor G with a $5 super chat saying, "Just saying, I love road trip member streams. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge."
Me too.
Ethereal Swordsman with a $5 super chat saying, "NSF team game nights when? Online mod KSP, maybe Among Us or Open RCT2, maybe tournaments on Smash, Card, or even chess if you're feeling nerdy." I would be up for like some Smash or Mario Kart. Like that would be fun. There's a gaming channel in our members Discord, and we should probably organize. I know there's like a Minecraft community server, but yeah, it would be fun. Would be fun to do. Wes Kelly Webbit with a $4.99 super chat saying, "To help Adrian pay taxes."
Okay. Very well timed. Very well timed.
Yeah, amazing actually. Ethereal Swordsman with the $2 super chat saying, "NSF VTuber avatars." No. Telstar86 with the 1 gifted rap team membership. Thank you all for this very generous support. We have just having fun here, and it seems you're enjoying the show. So usually when I have bad news, I do what everybody at NSF do, and I let Alex deliver it. Alex, how are we?
Well, just like a brand new fridge, no frost.
That's not good.
And we just have SpaceX. Standing down from tonight's Starlink launch from Pad 40 in Florida. Now targeting
Dang it.
Thursday, November 7th. Well,
This mission is cursed. This mission is cursed. We have a scrub for today, everybody.
before anybody leaves, because I know a lot of people are going to be rushing to get out, I'll just have to say, if tomorrow you're around at 3:13 p.m. Eastern, that's the next attempt on November 7th, and all the opportunities go until 7:11 p.m. Eastern. So that's the next attempt. Again, 3:13 p.m. Eastern. That will be 2013, I think, UTC. So that is the earliest attempt for this mission, which will be the third attempt. That's quite interesting. It hasn't happened for a while.
Absolutely. But yeah, we have to confirm it, sadly. They're standing down for today's mission. We don't know why, actually. Whether, of course, likely speculation.
It definitely was not good. That's for sure. But there's no way to actually know, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, this was fun. I enjoyed this. You know, I don't think we wasted time today. I had fun today. And that totally is worth it for Max and D to set up in the mosquito-infested cape, right, D?
You should see the mosquito suit that I'm wearing right now, and Max has one on, but not with a full hood over his head. There are a lot of mosquitoes out here. The grass has been cut, so we don't have the thorns in our ankles, but the mosquito suits are very necessary out here. But, of course, it's always worth it, even for a Starlink.
But,
see, and that's why
you know,
I already... Good.
That being said, we did not get it. We were not out here at like 1 or 2 o'clock getting set up for the around 3 o'clock window opening and then waiting here all day for it to push till the end. Like, thankfully we had enough notice ahead of time, so we weren't waiting here all day, because this is... It used to, again, I don't want to jinx us, but also this used to happen quite often, where we would get here like right at maybe hour and a half, 2 hours before window opening, get set up, and then we'd push all the way to the end of the window, like one T0 after another, all the way to the end. So thankfully that is not the case tonight, but nonetheless, it is always a sad day when Falcon 9 does not get off the ground.
And with these two amazing closing statements, D and Max in the field, that was, let me start here with D-Wise. Thank you so much for rolling out today here. And let's see if we have to do it tomorrow again.
Yeah, I will hopefully be seeing you all here tomorrow. Always a good time.
Same goes for you, Max. Thanks for rolling out.
Pleasure as always, and thank you very much, everyone, for coming to hang out with us. And sorry for the disappointment tonight, but hopefully we can try again tomorrow.
And let's get you both out of the mosquito nest. And I also want to thank Alex here for being my co-commentator for today's not launch.
Yeah, right. Hopefully the taxes are all good tomorrow.
Yep.
You know,
I want to voice an
Texas
HR complaint. I really want to voice an HR complaint here. Can I do
Adrian,
that?
I hate to break it to you, but we are the HR.
Dang it. And I also want to thank Gage here, who was actually in the field, I think a bit south of the Cape, when would have spooled up a feed if we got closer to launch. And of course, I won't forget Jay, who is operating behind the scenes and making sure we got these amazing views and we are properly sounding and everything went well on today's stream. My name is Adrian Bile. I was your host for today's fun pronunciation session that also had a rocket in view. And with that, I will see you all tomorrow.
And here we go.
We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
STD off. Say again, STD off. Off.
It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Décollage! Put that in the big bag, Signal.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane would be igniting the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.